Back to Escrow, he coldly threatens Seo Woon, stating that the only way he'll be allowed to live is by revealing the location of Nam Se-gwang. With no hesitation, he adds that if Seo Woon doesn't know, there's no reason to keep him alive. He'd just be a nuisance. Reacting with shock and frustration, Seo Woon protests, asking what kind of demand that is to make the moment they meet. He insists he has no idea where Nam Se-gwang is. Seo Woon's expression suddenly tightens as something catches his attention. His eyes widen, alarmed. It was Nam Se-gwang, who suddenly jumps high into the air and crashes down in a blinding burst of energy, engulfed in light. Meanwhile, Escrow, still unaware of the incoming attack, continues his conversation, saying he only asked because Seo Woon looked like he was from the same region. If not, then he can just die. Nam Se-gwang explodes into action, slamming into Escrow with immense force, electricity crackling violently around them. Startled, Escrow flinches from the blow and questions internally whether Nam Se-gwang had been hiding all along. Nam Se-gwang grins with wild confidence, declaring that he's already fully recovered, and taunting Escrow by asking if he's running low on mana. Meanwhile, Seo Woon watches in disbelief, unable to understand how Nam Se-gwang suddenly appeared again. With lightning swirling around him and his fangs bared, Nam Se-gwang roars that he'll end it now, driving his charged fist forward with intent to finish the fight. Nam Se-gwang's punch lands with explosive force, sending Escrow flying backward through the air with violent impact. Blue energy streaks through the scene as their clash sends shockwaves around them. Despite being struck, Escrow looks up calmly and mutters that such a simple attack couldn't possibly damage him. But in the next moment, his expression shifts to wide-eyed horror as blood splatters and pain surges through him. Grinning menacingly, Nam Se-gwang asks if Escrow has ever heard of Gangi. As energy wraps around his glowing hand, Nam Se-gwang explains that among the techniques of Gangi, one called Sugang is a martial art mastered by only a few. He admits he didn't think he'd need to use it in this world. With a sinister smile, Nam Se-gwang leans in close and tells Escrow that he's the first person he's shown it to, so he should consider it an honor. Behind him, Escrow struggles to breathe, barely managing a pained gasp. The next instant, Nam Se-gwang drives his fist straight through Escrow's body, blood exploding out as Escrow screams in agony. Nam Se-gwang smirks coldly and tells him that now he won't be able to cast any more of those annoying spells. Escrow can only groan weakly, blood dripping from his mouth. Nam Se-gwang then steps back and casually remarks that someone like Escrow could have easily been in the top 5, if only he hadn't met him. From a distance, Seo Woon watches the scene unfold and wonders if he should consider Nam Se-gwang showing up as luck. But he came to his senses and thought that while those two are fighting, he also needs to quickly get out from the area. Following Nam Se-gwang's brutal finishing blow, Seo Woon stares in shock as he hears the cold, furious command, "Just die already." His eyes widen, sweat trailing down his face as the sheer force behind those words sinks in. In the next moment, a violent burst of energy erupts. Blood sprays across the ground as Escrow's battered body is struck once more, unable to defend himself. Nam Se-gwang, fully relentless, drives his electrified fist straight through Escrow's chest. The Archmage lets out a strangled cry as more blood pours from his mouth and wounds, his strength failing. Escrow's face contorts in agony as he continues to bleed, the sheer damage leaving him barely conscious and completely overpowered. Watching this unfold, Seo Woon reflects on the staggering reality. Seeing the once untouchable Archmage Escrow fall so miserably to Nam Se-gwang forces him to reconsider everything. Then, As fear and pity fade into the background, a new thought creeps into Seo Woon's mind, one more dangerous than anything he's felt before. That thought strikes him with unsettling clarity. If he could absorb the life force of others, just how much stronger could he become? Meanwhile, Nam Sagwang towers over the mutilated Escrow, mocking him. He scoffs at Escrow's former confidence, calling what's left a mere half-corpse, then cruelly asks if he has any last words, only to remind him he can't speak because of what was done to him. In response, Escrow glares upward in silence, mouth bloodied and broken, unable to answer as energy crackles faintly around him. Suddenly, the voice of Escrow echoes in Nam Sagwang's mind, filled with rage as he reveals that Elizabeth, the person Sagwang killed, was his most cherished disciple. Confused by the sudden voice, Nam Sagwang pauses and wonders aloud if someone is speaking directly into his head. Escrow, now hunched and bloodied, continues through telepathy, explaining how Elizabeth had been unfairly rejected by the academic society and expelled from university solely for being a girl. As Escrow's voice continues, he confesses with deep regret that he had failed to stop her many times. But Nam Sagwang only sneers in response, mocking the idea by saying that if she really was a girl, he surely would have noticed. Unless, he adds cruelly, she didn't look any different from a man. A dark, furious grin creeps across Escrow's face as he mentally declares his intent to finally shut Nam Sagwang's filthy mouth for good. Hearing those words, Nam Sagwang's expression hardens and his eyes narrow sharply. He growls in disbelief. "What did you say?" Then suddenly, Seo Woon freezes and mutters, "Hold on," his expression shifting as a strange light draws his attention. As he looks more into it, Seo Woon sees a massive flare of fire and glowing energy erupting through the forest canopy, illuminating the night sky in a blinding burst of heat and light. A towering explosion rises into the sky, its fiery mass expanding in a deafening shockwave of destruction. Staring upward in disbelief, Seo Woon realizes that the incoming fireball is a meteor. The blazing projectile hurtles down in a trail of fire, and Escrow's battered body is going to be swallowed by it, falling headfirst into the inferno. As the blazing firestorm descends, Nam Sagwang looks up in disbelief, his face twisted with fury and confusion. He yells that Escrow shouldn't be able to cast spells, so how the hell did that bastard manage to do it? Escrow continues his telepathy, explaining that this is the final spell an archmage can use, one cast in exchange for both mana and life force. Down below, Escrow kneels silently as the deadly incantation takes hold. The name of the spell, Armageddon, flares into existence with blood-red intensity. Realizing too late what's about to happen, Nam Sagwang turns to flee, shouting in rage that this crazy bastard has lost his mind as the meteor blazes closer to impact. From another direction, Seo Woon also runs for his life, panic written all over his face as he curses himself for not fleeing earlier. Back at the epicenter of the blast, Escrow stands amidst the incoming inferno, speaking softly to someone from his past, Elizabeth, saying it will be good to see her again after so long. Then, in a blinding flash, Escrow vanishes, his body consumed by the spell, leaving behind only a single chest box as his final remains. The meteor finally crashes down in a thunderous eruption, obliterating the ground in a massive shockwave of light, heat, and debris. As the fiery explosion dies down, another figure stands quietly from afar, watching the destruction unfold from behind a tree. The intense light reflects in his eyes as he observes the aftermath with a serious expression. He mutters to himself that if someone could use magic of that level, then there's only one person it could be, his tone sharp and certain, as if recognizing the caster. Meanwhile, Seo Woon lies face down on the ground, battered and gasping. Clenching the earth beneath him, he curses himself for not running away sooner, blaming his greed for life force. Determined not to die so easily, he pulls out a glowing purple elixir and forces himself to sit up. With gritted teeth, he swears he won't go out so pathetically. He tears into one of his healing scrolls and reminds himself that he had farmed tons of them exactly for this kind of emergency. Staggering forward, he pants heavily and admits that without the elixir, he never would have made it out alive. The fact that he even escaped feels unreal. Even as he uses the scrolls, Seo Woon winces. The healing helps, but not enough. The pain remains sharp, and he realizes one scroll alone isn't going to cut it. Finally, standing upright amid a field of torn scrolls and debris, Seo Woon breathes a little easier. Looking around, he mutters that he can finally relax a bit now, if only just for a moment. Still catching his breath, Seo Woon looks down at himself and mutters that he's already used up every last healing scroll he had saved. With tension still written across his face, he forces himself to stand and steels his resolve. He has to survive. He then opens the system interface and calls out the word "Survivor." The screen flickers to life with a familiar notification sound. Looking at the kill log, Seo Woon reads the message confirming Nam Sa-gwang has defeated Escrow. He sighs, acknowledging that Escrow really is dead. Though disappointed he couldn't absorb Escrow's life force, he resigns himself to the fact. It couldn't be helped. But as he scans the system further, confusion sets in. He notices there's no log confirming Nam Sa-gwang's death. A sense of unease creeps in as he questions it. Why isn't there any record? His eyes widen slightly as a new thought strikes him. Could it be, is Nam Sa-gwang still alive? Then suddenly, he hears a voice calling out for help. Someone asking to be saved. He immediately moves toward the sound in the forest, bracing himself against the trees as he mutters that it definitely came from this direction. Cautiously pushing aside leaves, he peers through the foliage, nervously asking if anyone's there. At that moment, his eyes widen in shock. Just ahead, he sees Nam Sa-gwang, barely clinging to life, gripping a scroll with his teeth. Struggling to speak, Nam Sa-gwang mutters that if only he could use the scroll, he wouldn't have to die like this. Watching him from a distance, Seo Woon assesses the situation calmly. With the meteor falling right on him, it must have been nearly impossible to dodge. And now, with both arms immobilized, he realizes Nam Sa-gwang can't even tear a healing scroll. Suddenly, Nam Sa-gwang yells out, begging for help. He tells Seo Woon to just tear the scroll for him. Desperately identifying him by name, Seo Woon asked him directly if he's Nam Sa-gwang. Startled, Nam Sa-gwang's eyes widen in recognition as he sees who's standing over him. Seo Woon steps forward and speaks honestly. Every time Nam Sa-gwang appeared in the kill log, he always wondered what kind of powerful items he must have had. He genuinely thought Nam Sa-gwang would win the game. But now, seeing him in this state is really shocking. As the plea continues, Nam Sa-gwang promises that if he's helped just this once, he'll make sure Seo Woon becomes the winner. He yells that helping someone win is nothing for someone like him. Seeing Seo Woon wanting to kill him, he then demands to know, in a panic, if he actually thinks he can win alone by killing him now. Seo Woon opens his subspace and pulls out a short sword, its blade glowing with a purple aura. As he grips it tightly, his internal thought continues. If he obtains Nam Sa-gwang's items and life force, then, standing in front of Nam Sa-gwang, he raises his sword high. Red energy flares around him as he prepares to strike, thinking that he'll become the Liu Biyu of this game. Below him, Nam Sa-gwang panics and screams no, warning that there are still many powerful enemies left. He insists that he doesn't even have many items, and his martial arts weren't learned in this world. Seo Woon grins with a chilling calm and says Nam Seo-gwang should at least know the name of the person who's killing him. With shadow cast over his eyes, he introduces himself, Jin Seo Woon. Nam Seo-gwang shouts that he may die like this time, but his wide, desperate eyes show he's not ready to accept it yet. He screams out in rage that even if he dies here, with his voice rising, he declares he will never forget this. The close-up of his glaring yellow eyes shows that even as he's about to die, he burns the moment into memory with pure rage. As he begins shouting Seo Woon's name in a final outburst, Jin Seo Wo, the blade comes crashing down. Blood violently splashes upward as Seo Woon thrusts the sword straight down into Nam Seo-gwang's face, delivering the fatal blow without hesitation. Afterward, Seo Woon catches his breath and mutters that Nam Seo-gwang, looking so much like a kid, makes the whole thing feel unnecessarily guilty. But as he rests his hands on the sword's hilt, his expression shifts. Sweat trickles down his face as he blinks in confusion. Something unexpected is happening. Then, Seo Woon's eyes widen in shock as glowing blue energy surges around him. The light intensifies rapidly, catching him completely off guard with its sudden force. Moments later, as he's engulfed in the brilliant energy, he reacts in amazement. The immense wave of power overwhelms his senses, and he exclaims how unbelievable the amount of life force is. Still surrounded by swirling light, Seo Woon grins with exhilaration. Calling Nam Seo-gwang a human elixir, he notes that an immense amount of internal energy is now flooding into him, more than he ever expected. At the same time, a different player with long, pale green hair examines the system display. His sharp profile is framed by the glowing notification that begins with Survivor, showing that he's also keeping track of the remaining players. Another player, armored and muscular with a longsword on his back, looks up at the sky as the notification fully reveals the count, 8/100ths. His calm demeanor contrasts the rising tension. Elsewhere, a burly figure with a red cape stands with his back to the viewer as the kill log pops up in front of him. It reads, Jin Seo Woon right-pointing arrow, Nam Seo-gwang, kill with longsword, confirming the latest elimination. In a different part of the forest, a white-haired player with pointed ears and a hood crouches on a high branch, scanning the area with a bow at his side. Watching closely, he mutters that, now that the tiger is dead. He finishes the thought from the ground, sword drawn and eyes sharp, declaring that the foxes will now run rampant. His poised stance signals he's ready for the next phase of the fight. This is the end of this video. If you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe.